because I identify so strongly and ever since I can remember as a Muslim woman. Like those are two aspects of my identity that are so important to me, so critical into who I am and shape who I am, that it was so hard that I could not reach out to a Muslim. I could not reach out to a woman, and I was too afraid to. And that's because there aren't any open doors in our community that will invite that kind of dialogue. I didn't want to tell my friends, Muslim, non-Muslim, because I was too ashamed, because I felt like it was my fault. So in the end of the day, no one knew. Like pretty much no one knew. Everything that happened to me, no one knew. If there was someone I had to talk to about it, particularly someone who knew me well or someone who understood the context of my experiences as a Muslim, as a woman, as someone of that ethnic background, if they were there and they could talk to me without there being all this stigma attached to it and it ever reaching my family and affecting them in a negative way, I think I would have been empowered from that minute on. I think it's really important that that individual in that time, no matter how shocking or uncomfortable it might be for you, to not express any feelings of shock or judgment through the way that you through your face, through your body language, through what you say. Sometimes all you need to be is this block of, you know, literally just a person that's listening. You're just there to hear them out. That's why it's important that that individual who is at the receiving end of some kind of confession about sexual violence, that they sit there and they just listen. And they're there in the most supportive and non-judgmental way. No matter what your opinion is about their experience, don't you ever dare express that, especially in that first moment. Because that's a moment, that's probably one of the biggest moments in that victim's life, is to express something like that. And not feel judged and feel completely safe and like they can literally fall into their compassion, into their arms and say whatever they want, and they almost are freed to some extent. I really looked up to certain scholars because that was a way for me to identify as a Muslim, a minority within a community that where there weren't that many Muslims, there weren't that many people like me. I would look up to them for knowledge, for wisdom, for advice about how to live like an American Muslim, how to live, act, breathe, and identify as one. So I think the first step in terms of providing a safe space for women who have been afflicted by sexual violence is to open that space up to those who could potentially be advocates, even if you would never imagine them as one. But I would say the first are your experts, your scholars, your academics, your role models within the American Muslim community that have the authority and the voice to really speak out about it without challenging the stigma to an extent that people would reject and say, no, I will. This is total malarkey. This is ridiculous. I'm never gonna accept this. But when it comes from someone like Sheikh Hamza Yusuf, or it comes from Sheikh Abdullah Adami, or it comes from the Islamic Society of North America or Muslim Student Association at a national level, when they are initiating a space for that kind of open dialogue, no matter where it leads to, but the fact that it becomes a topic at that level, people at least are opening up their ears and their eyes, and they're trying to listen, or at least subconsciously. And then from that I would hope, whether people, no matter how much people disagree or stir controversy about discussing sexual violence at that level, at least it's happening. And then you can have your agents that come in from grassroots that will really lead the discussion, especially when a male scholar who normally would not be comfortable talking about it may bring it up as like, okay, this is something we need to talk about, not sure where to go with it. But then you have people who have been affected by it or are willing to be active advocates lead that dialogue, and it becomes an issue. It becomes something to talk about.